They have to get all their energy from other people, but you can produce your own energy. You're like one of those like generators. And all people want to do is plug themselves into you and take all of your energy. But who's going to recharge the generator? Who's going to heal the healer? Who's going to pick you up and put the pieces back together? When you get destroyed time and time again by these narcissists, they'll destroy your life, your reputation, assassinate your character, put you in financial ruin, lie on your name, destroy opportunities. There are people so evil that they'll hear somebody about to give you an opportunity, about to hook you up with a job, about to connect you with a network, connect you to a network of people that could potentially help you and accelerate your life and accelerate your career. And they'll badmouth you. They'll tarnish your name. They won't recommend you for a promotion. And people will just go along with it. They believe it because you keep to yourself, you mind your own business, and you're not in everybody's face trying to make people like you, trying to people please, trying to manipulate others. I feel like it takes too much time, energy. I don't understand like where they're getting it's like they steal energy, but somehow where are you getting the energy to be this calculating and manipulative? It's got to come from somewhere. I think a lot of these narcissists, they're just running off of pure spite. They don't like that you can generate this good energy, pure energy, these good vibes. All they want to do is steal it, benefit from you in some way without doing the work. It's crazy because you did the emotional labor of healing, becoming a better person, learning, unlearning, reparenting yourself, facing the guilt, the shame, no longer identifying with your trauma, not going out of your way to sabotage anyone or mess up anything that anyone else has going on. I feel like collective, you couldn't imagine going out of your way to do that. And you're not even vengeful to the people who have gone out of their way to destroy your life. I feel like you just be minding your own business. People don't like that. They don't like seeing you minding your own business. Because people want you to pay attention to them. They want to feel relevant. They want that validation, that attention from you. And you realize, collective, you had a moment where you just realized how precious your attention, your energy, your validation is. That's why people work so hard to come up against you when they feel like they're irrelevant in your life. Because anybody that is not helping you towards your goals, anybody that does not return the kindness, the love, and the compassion that you exhibit towards them, they're irrelevant. And they feel that irrelevancy. They feel it, and they don't like that. That's why some people, they'll do anything to get your attention. But you're not paying attention to things that you don't prefer. And they don't like that you don't prefer them. They would prefer if you spent all your energy and attention on them. And they like negative energy. They like negative attention. You see this a lot. You see this a lot online. People rage baiting in the comment section. Because even negative attention is better than no attention. Any relevancy is better than fading into obscurity and being completely irrelevant. But they inherently feel irrelevant. They know their opinion doesn't matter. Because you realize if you don't matter to them, why should their opinion matter to you? If they ain't paying your bills, why should you care what they have to say? I feel like you just had this epiphany. You had this realization. You put an end to people-pleasing behaviors. Collective, I don't know what happened or when exactly this shift happened, but You're no longer over explaining yourself. You no longer care to be understood. You ain't telling your side of the story. Sending paragraphs, lashing out, begging people to care. You realize, like, that's only adding fuel to the fire. These people don't care because they don't care about themselves. I mean, it shows. You could tell when somebody don't care about themselves. These narcissists, they be having bad hygiene. And I think that that's a narcissistic trait, bad hygiene, because they don't care about themselves. You could tell they have this smell. They have this look. They have this way about them. It's because they're operating on a demonic frequency. And those lower vibrational energies and entities, they love dirt, dust, clutter. That's why I encourage feng shui. A lot of you guys rearrange the furniture. A lot of you guys are feeling stagnant, stale, still energy. You ever feel like everything is just kind of like up in the air, at a standstill? That feng shui is a real thing. Rearrange the furniture. I see redecorating for a lot of you guys. There could be a paint job that needs to be done. Little like repairs around the house. Getting rid of stuff, spring cleaning. It makes you feel so much better. Even if you just clean like one surface at a time, start small. Because a lot of times we get overwhelmed when there's a lot to do. Chores, errands, paperwork, bills, our career, jobs, self-care, taking care of our mental health, spiritual practices. I mean, that adds up. It's exhausting. Like just thinking about it, everything that you have to do is exhausting. Take it one step at a time. Just one step at a time puts you ahead of most people. Because most people avoid, sweep it under the rug, because it's too stressful to think about and too stressful to deal with. But you've done the hard work. Collective, like, somebody really is losing sleep over you. And it's crazy because they're the ones who disrupted your nervous system. They wanted you to have a mental breakdown. They enjoyed the tower moment. They orchestrated the tower moment. They wanted to see you stressed and nervous, hands shaking. They wanted to see your home in disrepair. They wanted to see your soul in disrepair. They wanted you to be unsettled, unstable without them. Now the tables have turned. Because just because you exit somebody's life doesn't mean that they get a get out of jail free card. They think once you're out of their lives, they've done the smear campaign, they've turned everyone against you, they've ruined your opportunities, they've destroyed your mental health. They think ain't no way you coming back from that. But when you come back from the dead, you come back swinging, looking better than ever. Collective, I feel like you're the type, you'll go into hibernation, you'll go into hermit mode, and then you'll come back looking better. Like you'll pop up out of nowhere. And people be like, is that really them? Collective, going into this new season, I see you breaking necks, turning heads, and creating a stir. I really see you causing a scene, creating a stir without even meaning to, without purposely drawing attention to yourself. I feel like you be doing stuff to draw attention away from yourself. Headphones on, sunglasses on, the hat with the thing, the brim low, so half of your face is obscured. You get enough attention, unsolicited, unwanted attention. People offering unsolicited advice that you didn't ask for. People helping you in the way they want to help you, not in the way that you're asking to be supported, and then calling you ungrateful when you don't accept said unsolicited advice or help. Because people have control issues. They want to feel like it was their idea. That's human nature. People want to feel like something is their idea. That's why people don't ask you how you're doing. How can I help? How can I assist? How can I support? And yet, they're obsessed with every aspect of your life. They don't miss a story. Constantly watching your page. And then they don't want you to know that they're constantly watching your page. So what they'll do is they'll create those fake pages as if you don't know that that's them. People still doubt how intuitive you are, even when you have demonstrated how intuitive you are. Collective, you just be knowing stuff. You're clairvoyant, claircognizant. You're a psychic. But people still be trying to lie to you. People still be trying to deceive you. I don't get that. Because their default is deception. Because they lie to themselves. So by default, they lie to others. They don't love themselves. So by default, they can't love others. They don't care for themselves. You could tell, you could see that they don't care for themselves. You're no longer putting on your cape and saving anybody. You're not going out of your way to assist people who are plotting on your downfall. I feel like you let people live and let live. Let people believe what they want to believe. Because whether you're doing bad or good, they're going to talk about you anyway. So I feel like you're living for you. And people don't like that because they want the attention on them. That's why people get so jealous of the attention that you get. But they're unremarkable. So why would anybody care about their opinion? Why would anybody pay attention to them? That's why they like bad attention, negative attention. Because they know that they're not good people. That's why they get triggered by good people. They love gossiping about people who mind their own business. Why does the quiet, shy one always get bullied? Because they're not in everybody's face. Being fake, performative, manipulative. People hate to see somebody just living their life authentically. Not trying to impress, not trying to over-explain, people please, manipulate, or get other people to like them. You're not interested in the gossip, the clicks. It just doesn't make sense to waste so much energy. The small talk, it's all a waste. And you bring light to that. But that's how people have become accustomed to living their lives. So they feel as though you living in a genuine way and authentically threatens their livelihood. They'll try to say that you're standoffish, unfriendly. You don't care to be a part of their fake ass group. And they're threatened by that. They're offended by that. That's why you feel like sometimes like your very presence is offensive. Because it threatens the way people have always lived their lives. the fakeness, refusing to take accountability for anything that they do to hurt others, any harmful behavior, harmful things that they may have said intentionally or unintentionally, is never their fault. There is no introspection. There is no accountability. That's why they always holding you accountable, because you're held to a different standard. You ever notice that, collective? One way you could tell that you're an empath, earth angel, star seed, chosen one. One way you could tell is if it's cool when they do it, but it's a problem if you do it. Everybody else gets away with certain behaviors, but all of a sudden, if you say or do the exact same thing that everybody else is saying and getting away with, all of a sudden, you're the villain. You're the bad guy. Everybody else is getting away with something. You try to do it, you get caught. You get caught. It's a problem when you do it, because you get held to a higher standard. You get held to a different standard. You didn't come here to reside on a negative, low vibrational, demonic frequency. So you're going to get held to the angelic standard. That's why people are watching you like a hawk, going over every little thing that you do and say with a fine-tooth comb, examining your life under a microscope, magnifying glass, because they want to prove that you're not so perfect, but you never said you were perfect. They hold you to a standard of perfection because you're not like everybody else. You don't care to participate in the small talk, the gossip about things that you cannot control, things that are clearly distractions. You don't watch the same things other people watch, dress the same way, wear your hair in the same way. You don't walk, talk, and act like the other human beings. So they treat you like an ET. That's why they alienate you. They want you to feel like the outcast, because you're doing the right thing, which is the opposite of what most people are doing. So they'll try to make it seem like you're doing the wrong thing, which is why they try to catch you doing the wrong thing, waiting for you to fuck up. Because that's going to justify them not examining the parts of themselves that they need to confront. They will do anything to not confront the things that they need to confront. The guilt, the shame, it's too much. They can't handle it. They would never point the finger at themselves. The introspection ain't there. So they externalize everything. They internalize nothing. Nothing could possibly be their fault. It couldn't possibly be anything they're doing or saying. That thought doesn't even cross their mind. They automatically point the finger. It's always somebody else. They're always the victim. Everyone else is always the villain. Because that is the lie that they have become accustomed to. They have built their entire life and built their entire belief system and identity around experiencing trauma. It's like, bro, at some point, let it go. Get over it. That's why people don't like seeing you heal. They don't like seeing you forgive. They don't like seeing you cut off those toxic family members. Exit that abusive relationship. leave the toxic friend group or cut off that toxic friend that's been jealous of you for years. Sometimes we don't see it because we don't want to see it. We don't want to believe it. We don't want to believe that the person that we love and care about so much has been plotting on our downfall, jealous of us the entire time. Because you're willing to reassess and reevaluate your belief system and your thought process on a regular basis. Most people do not have the humility required to change your opinion about something, change the way you think, change your core beliefs. They don't have it in them. But there's something in them that knows that it would be beneficial for them and beneficial for everyone if they would just examine their shadow selves, dissect why they are the way they are, forgive whoever needs to be forgiven, heal, grow, learn, unlearn, relearn, and move on. They don't want to go through the steps. They don't want to go through the process. It's too traumatic. It's too difficult. It is so much easier to find a scapegoat, i.e. you, and point the finger and blame you. And everybody's on board. Ever notice everybody's like always on board for the good smear campaign. Everybody's always on board to throw you under the bus and make you the scapegoat because you're the one who comes and shines a light on people's shadow sides. They don't want you shining no light on no shadow sides. They've been trying to hide that. They've been suppressing and repressing, running away from that, lying to themselves every day, saying that it's a non-issue. But you come and you just expose all that shit. You make people feel uncomfortable because there's certain aspects of them, of their personality, of their behaviors, of their thought process, certain aspects when it comes to their belief system that they know it's problematic. They know it's harmful. They know it's self-destructive. But the guilt, the shame, and the pain is too much to bear. So they will rather point the finger at you and say, you're the problem. You're the issue for pointing it out. They don't want to examine the issue. They want to examine the person that's pointing the issue out. And a lot of times, collective, you don't even realize that you're triggering these people in this way. Just by being you. Your presence is triggering to people who don't want to heal. And I ain't gonna lie, there's a divide going on. And this is a lot of people's last chance to be able to have the opportunity to ascend to the higher vibration, where everyone is working cooperatively to heal and grow as much as they possibly can. You know, deprioritizing things that do not matter and prioritizing things that do matter, such as your mental health, your physical fitness, spiritual hygiene, focusing on improving your life without harming anyone else. And then when you get in a position to help others, then you have the option to be charitable and generous, if that's something that you choose to do. You have a pure heart. You have pure intentions. People can't believe that. People don't want to believe that. They want to think and they want to believe that you have nefarious, malicious intentions because they're projecting. They have to attack the mirror because they do everything that they possibly can to avoid the inner work. So then when you come out of nowhere, and all of the bad things about themselves, the things that they believe are bad things, it's reflected right back at them. That's why people can't hold eye contact with you as well, as a side note. Because they don't want to look. They don't want to see. They look at you and they see everything that they hate about themselves. You remind them of everything that they have been running away from, suppressing, repressing. They think that they can't heal these things. They think that they can't change any of that. But it starts with changing your beliefs. And then you go on to pivot your thoughts. You think about something negative, you gently pivot, you gently redirect yourself. Think about something more positive. But it's harder to think about something positive. It's harder to hold on to that. Oftentimes delusional, it feels like. Feels like you're being delusional. That delusional belief that things can get better. You can beat that addiction. You can beat that anxiety. You can beat that depression. You can change the things that you don't like about yourself. You can accept the things that you cannot control. You can embrace the things that you don't like about yourself. But people don't want to believe that. They ain't trying to hear that. They ain't trying to hear no positivity. Because at least being negative and thinking negatively is predictable. It's consistent. But thinking positive, that means that even when you're faced with negative circumstances and you're looking at a very negative and unfavorable 3D reality, you still have to train your mind to think positively. That's a very difficult thing to do. It requires you being very present. It also requires you to have skills of visualization and being able to envision the future that you prefer. And then you got to come back down to earth and become grounded. So you got to be spiritual and be grounded. Live in the astral plane and the material world simultaneously. That shit ain't easy. But collective, you make it look easy. You make it look easy. People don't like that. People don't like that you seem so humble, so down to earth. You have this humility about you. Naturally. You don't feel egotistical, prideful, or superior to people on a regular basis. Everybody exhibits these qualities from time to time, especially if you're a Leo. Libras be doing that shit too. You know, everybody has moments where they're living within their ego. I mean, you'd be lying if you said you wouldn't be human if you say you never lived within your ego. You never had moments where you were prideful. These are necessary human emotions. But then you come back down to earth. But then people realize, damn, they're really cool. They're really a cool person. But they already have it in your head that you are the adversary. You have to be the villain. Because as long as you're the villain, they feel as though they don't have to examine the aspects of themselves that they need to work on. Those shadow selves. People ain't trying to confront no shadow selves. They want to deny their very existence. And by pushing that little shadow self back into its little cage, tiny little veil cage, they are denying themselves the opportunity to grow and heal. They are denying their inner child the opportunity to be able to live a prosperous, happy, successful, peaceful, and abundant life. They're really just hurting themselves. And trying to hurt you, they're really hurting themselves. And this is their last chance. This is the last chance. A lot of these souls, they just aren't getting it. That's why you made the karmic contract with them. Because you felt, okay, if they meet a higher dimensional being and they're exposed to my light, surely it will eradicate the demon living within them. No, it just irritates the demon living within them. That's why they lash out. That's why they lie about you. That's why they gossip. That's why they look at you like that. People just be giving you this look. I don't like how people look at you, collective. I've been feeling this energy a lot. They just be giving you that look, that look. of disdain, hatred, jealousy, contempt. It's like a look where you can almost see what's going on in their mind. You can see like they don't know exactly why they don't like you, but they know they don't like you. Or you'll have people on the opposite end of the spectrum who pedestalize you, and they inevitably and eventually knock you off that pedestal. So it's like you be getting it from all angles. You either have that look of admiration where you're being treated as a hero, or like an object. You're being like sensationalized. People idolize and sensationalize and pedestalize you, and that's not good either. It's just not good. It doesn't feel good. Because it's like they're holding you. I'm telling you, people hold you to this impossible standard. They'll do anything besides heal. Anything. Because I don't know what they think is going to happen if they just, like, imagine if they said, you know what, maybe I was wrong in that situation. What could I have done differently? What could I have said differently? I feel like collective, you're the type, you'll analyze how an interaction went. Like, you'll ruminate over it. You'll be like, damn, like, maybe I should have said this in a different way. Or maybe I was wrong when it came to this. Let me do some research on the topic. I'm open-minded. I'm open to changing my opinion. And people don't like that. Because people really just don't have an identity. So it's like they have to identify with something. And then once they identify with that, they can't let that go. Because if they have no identity, then it's like, who are they? Who are they without that prejudice? Who are they without that toxic belief? Who are they without those toxic behaviors? They don't know. They're just bad people. And they don't want to admit that they're bad people. So they'll try to say that you bad people. But collective, you good people. And people know that. The people that matter know that. Queen of Swords, you know, this is like the bitch of the tarot. People really, they're like, oh, she's cold. She's standoffish. She's kind of bitchy. No, you just got boundaries. No, you're just not going to tolerate people treating you like shit anymore. When people realize that you ain't with none of that you ain't with none of that people pleasing stuff anymore, they don't know how to take it because they're so used to that version of you. Downplaying yourself to make other people comfortable, dimming your light so they won't become uncomfortable and triggered and lash out. Collective, you realize eventually they're going to lash out and attack you anyway. Don't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what you do, what you say, what you don't say, what you do, what you don't do. They already have your mind. They already have their mind made up that you are a bad person because you're triggering them. But they don't understand the trigger could be a good thing. Like, you ever had something bad happen, but then it comes to light that you were really being protected and redirected? Like it was actually a blessing in disguise? That's what you are. You're a blessing in disguise. But people don't want to unpack. They don't want to examine. They don't want to dissect. That's why people are so surface level and shallow, because it's easier. It doesn't require any critical thinking. It's not mentally and emotionally taxing. They want to have a clear description and label for every single person that they come across. They've already like predetermined like who you are. Like you've already been pre-screened. They already have it in their head, man. They already have it in their head who you are. So you decided to do what was best for you and cut these people off. Because what were you supposed to do? Continue to sit around and tolerate poor treatment? That would be a disservice to yourself. You started respecting yourself. God forbid you have self-respect. They got self-respect now. They don't like that. Because they like using you as the punching bag. They get off on bullying somebody like you, feeling superior to somebody like you. Because they know that you walk with some type of spiritual, otherworldly authority. They can feel that you're exalted in the higher heavenly realms. You've been sent down here for a special spiritual mission. But people ain't trying to tap into their spiritual side. It's too much work. They would have to go within their subconscious and become one with their higher self. Ain't nobody trying to do that because they're afraid of what they might find. What you find is a higher, angelic, extraterrestrial frequency that's only going to tell you the truth. That's why everything you hear, everything you see, everything you read, take it with a grain of salt. But your intuition is never going to lie to you. But people don't want to look within because they don't trust their intuition. They don't want to become one with their higher self. They will rather be told what to do, what to think, and how to act. Even how to dress. Just go with the trends. How to wear your hair. How everybody else is wearing it. But you dare to be different. You go against the grain. Everybody's swimming one way. You're swimming upstream. It's more difficult to swim upstream. Why are you going against the current? It's more difficult, but it's more rewarding because you're going to get to a place that nobody else is ever going to get. And that place is spiritual enlightenment and nirvana, where you're at peace with who you are as a person and your place in the world. You're at peace with your identity as you see it, and you're not afraid to alter your perspective, which changes your identity. But you're not too attached to labels or identities. That's a very human concept. Because the enlightened beings, they've disidentified so much that they're not even in a physical form. They're formless. They're just like balls of energy. They don't even have a physical form. They don't care about labels, genders, identities. None of that exists with the higher, high dimensional beings. They don't have a need for that. Humans have a need for that. They need to identify with something. My bad. Joffrey's knocking stuff over. They have to have a label. They have to have an explanation. They have to have things spelled out to them. They don't want to think for themselves. They are triggered by the fact that you are a free thinker. They don't like that. You decided to go against the grain and cut these people off. They don't like that. They don't like that you don't need them. Because you don't need them to fulfill their end of the karmic contract. Even though you guys made a contract to come in contact with each other, you know, there was never any guarantee that they would learn and grow and heal from the situation. The only thing that you can control is you. As long as you learn some type of lesson and moving forward, you're going to utilize that lesson as far as when it comes to who you encounter from here on out. That's all that matters, collective. That's all that matters. Is that you learn the lesson. You were able to heal. You were able to grow. You were able to do the shadow work. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Go through the dark night of the soul. You came out on the other end a better person, a more healed, mature, spiritually enlightened person. People don't like that. Because you don't need to be a part of the clique. You don't need to be accepted. You don't need to be understood. It will be nice. But you've accepted that most people are not going to understand you. In fact, they're going to go out of their way to intentionally misunderstand you. So you ain't going out of your way to clear up no misunderstandings. They want misunderstandings. They love watching you explain yourself, asking to be loved. They love that because they have no intentions of doing so. But they love watching you beg. They love watching you ask. They love watching you explain. So you decided, you know what? These sick individuals are getting off on me showing how much I love and care about them. They're never going to accept my love and care. They're never going to appreciate what I bring to the table. They're never going to see value in my presence and the enlightenment and the opportunity for growth that you present them with. You decide to cut them off. And in doing so, you cut them off of your energy supply. Now who are they going to get their energy from? They ain't never going to find a supply like you. A narcissist without supply is like a year without rain, and they are going through a drought. That's no longer your problem. And they're going to make it seem like you're the bad guy for doing what you had to do for you. Good for you. Good for you. Be proud of yourself that you were able to cut these people off, because some people go their entire lives dealing with mistreatment and abuse because they feel as though they would rather be with somebody who's mistreating them than to be alone. You are okay in your own company, self-amused and self-sustained. Now somebody comes along and they match your energy. They're on your same vibration. They're not exhibiting any jealousy or anything like that. Cool. I have no problem with that. Now, you know, Cheetah Claws encourages people to deprioritize wanting a relationship because I feel like it takes you off your spiritual journey. However, I also don't think it's healthy to go on the other end of the spectrum and never speak to anyone again and have a mistrust or distrust of humans, because it's understandable that you would feel that way. But at the same time, it's important to fulfill your mission of giving people the opportunity to be on the same vibration as you so you guys can coexist. No codependency, but cooperation. Where you guys can elevate and inspire each other. But people don't want that. They don't want healthy competition. They just want a competition with you. Because sometimes it's good to have a little friendly rivalry. You push each other to do better. Introduce each other to networks of individuals where you guys can elevate your life in every way. But people don't want that type of healthy relationship with you because they don't have a healthy relationship with self. So you did what you had to do. Good for you. As far as the tower moment, look, I'm going to tell it to you like this. It's not looking good for a lot of these people who had fallings out. They had a falling out. They had a falling out with you, and they didn't take any responsibility or accountability. Collective, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section if you made it this far. But I feel like you're the type of person, when you fall out with somebody, you do everything that you possibly can to salvage the relationship. You try to save the relationship. You take responsibility. This is what sets you apart. You take responsibility for your part. Like, you know what? I reacted in this way because of this trauma. I have identified that and I'm working towards healing it. And I feel like you're the type, you'll say sorry, you'll apologize, and even better than that, you take the steps to make up for it. You take the steps to make it right, because your soul doesn't feel settled unless you made it right. But other people, they're the opposite. Their soul feels unsettled when they feel as though they did something wrong, but they don't want to confront that they did something wrong. So what they do is they'll try to say, you did something wrong, and they'll emphasize what you did wrong. You ever been in a connection with a narcissist? You do one thing wrong because they're waiting for you to fuck up. You do one thing wrong, like you fuck up, as we all do, and then they'll hold it over your head forever. Be prepared. Set your watch to it, that they're going to bring that thing up in every single argument from here on out. They will never let it go. That's why they don't be wanting to admit the shit that they did, because they think you gonna do the same thing that they be doing. Hold it over their head. Make them feel guilty about it for life. No, you just want some type of accountability. And then you guys can move on. You ain't trying to hold nothing over nobody's head. You know, now, it's important to identify a pattern of behavior, like somebody keeps doing something. Because somebody does something once, you have some degree of plausible deniability. But somebody continues disrespecting you and mistreating you, that's a pattern of behavior. That's pathological. That's calculated. That's manipulative. It's no longer a mistake. It's a choice. Somebody feels like their life is just not the same without you around, and they feel as though that you cursed them or your ancestors, especially if they know that you're into spirituality, which they probably do to some degree if you're watching tarot videos, okay? They're going to tell people that you cursed them, you hexed them, your ancestors and your spirit guides are coming after you and coming after them, and you did something. It's always like you did something to them because you're no longer in their life, and they think that you're being vengeful and spiteful. And it's like, no, bruh, that's just the consequences of your own actions. That's karma. They don't want to admit that that's karma. The thing, the lightning striking the tower and people falling out, that's karma. For not only mistreating you, but doubling down when you try to confront them about the abuse and them denying the mistreatment. They'll deny your whole experience. They'll deny reality. This is what they do. You can have forensic evidence. You can have proof, pictures, videos, screenshots, receipts. They will deny reality. They will gaslight you so bad that they'll have you questioning if you actually said that. They'll tell you that you said something that you never said. And they'll say it with such conviction. If only they put that type of energy into healing themselves. But I think narcissists can't be healed. I think it's a pathological personality disorder. And I think your presence in their life was just an opportunity for them to heal. But they ain't healing, so now they're going through the tower moment, not because you hexed them, but because you're no longer in their life and they are no longer graced by your presence. They're no longer receiving grace. You're no longer protecting them because you are a shield. The longer you stay in somebody's life that ain't supposed to be in your life, the longer you're shielding them from their own karma. That's why we should not interfere with people who do not wish to challenge their beliefs. They do not wish to challenge their behaviors that are harmful to others. You're blocking their karma. So I feel like you moved out the way, and then the lightning struck, and them and their new supply done fell out the house. Now you have somebody, they know that they're upset and they know that they're distraught, but they don't want to examine why. So it just comes back to they have to heal the things about themselves that they don't want to heal. Okay, Spirit, so what do you want the collective to do about this? Let's go ahead and ask the Moon Oracle. Okay, because I want to know. Okay, this one stuck out. Reflect on your priorities. Keep your head down and keep your eyes on your own paper. That's a them problem. Okay, but I think spirit just wants to remind you of how impactful you really are. I think that's the main takeaway from this message. Your presence is so much more impactful than people try to give you credit for. I mean, that's why they have to recruit other people to take you down. Like, imagine having to recruit a group to take one person down. That's how impactful you are. That's how relevant you are. That's how triggering you are to these people. I just love the amethyst crystal. If you are having trouble getting in touch with your higher self, or you feel like you're disconnected from source, get that amethyst crystal. It's a cheap crystal. It's very common. It's very inexpensive. I recommend going to a spiritual shop. This is like one of my last, I think this is my last one, but I'm willing to part with it. Let me know in the comment section you want me to put it up on Etsy. I'll bless it. Because I feel like somebody may need it. Somebody may need it out there. But the amethyst crystal, you turn your phone off, put that guided meditation on YouTube, okay? And you close your eyes and you sit there with that amethyst crystal. I ain't saying that you're going to start seeing visions, but you're going to get those insights. You're going to get those revelations where things are going to start to make sense. It allows you to tap into your intuition. And crystals are natural. They're naturally formed under the ground in caves. Have you ever been on a field trip to one of those crystal caves? We have a few in Pennsylvania. Like, it's amazing how those crystals are formed naturally. And it's something natural, comes from earth. It's something that we're supposed to utilize. It's not just spirituality, woo-woo, crazy metaphysical bullshit. I mean, you could choose to look at it like that, but I think it's incredibly helpful for people on their spiritual journey. So go ahead and get you that amethyst crystal, and look how well it goes with the Moon Oracle. I love the Moon Oracle, man. Reflect on your priorities by focusing on what you can control. We all have a list of priorities, and some priorities are listed higher than others. So I think it's important to just, identify what's the most important thing. Okay, I'll use myself as an example. I'm somebody that likes to get my steps in. I like to do a little workout with the weights, and I love spirituality and tarot. Now, I had to prioritize that in order of importance, okay? I'm also like just a very clean person. Like, I'm very hygienic. I probably take like more showers than necessary. This has been pointed out to me. I don't think you could. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Okay. Am I a little OCD? Probably. Okay. But I prefer to be like on the cleaner side than on the other opposite of the spectrum. So you gotta just like prioritize. Like, okay, first, I'm gonna take a shower. Then I'm gonna drink my energy drinks. Then I'm gonna do my quote of the day on YouTube, Facebook. Then, before I do my workout, before I get my steps in, before I do my little meal prep with the egg whites and the chicken breast and the bone broth and veggies and little stuff I like to eat, let me get on live and get this collective message so I can download the live, edit it, and post it for people to see. That's just an example of listing your priorities from most important to least important, okay? I think it'll reduce stress, and I think it's important to, focus on the things that you can control. Like the things that I just listed, those are all things that are in my control. And they're things that make me feel good. They're things that put me in touch with my spirituality. And it feels good to feel in control. Where a lot of us lose the plot, and where it becomes problematic is when we try to control things that are outside of our control. So yeah, reflect on your priorities. That's all you gotta do. And collective, I feel like you're very reflective and introspective. So this should be no problem for you. And honestly, I feel like you're on the right track. People are losing sleep over you. That's always a good sign. They're experiencing a tower moment because the new supply ain't supplying. Not surprising. And you done cut these people off as you should. Okay, collective? Be proud of yourself. Okay.